I think it was 2014. It's been about 5 years since I started reading about Chernobyl and really digging in and starting to do all the research. And that was a multi-year process between that and then starting to write the episodes. And then eventually, this guy comes along, we're casting, we're prepping, we're shooting. It's been 5 years, but honestly, it feels like it's been a day. It's gone by so fast. And I'm actually quite sad that it's coming to a close because it's been, without a doubt, the best creative experience of my life, no question. Yeah, it had to be a limited series. I don't know how to tell this story as a movie. It would have been terribly diminished. And really, not just diminished, but ruined. The beauty and tragedy of Chernobyl is the size of it and the way it impacted people and how many people were impacted and the different kinds of people who were impacted. So it had to be a limited series. And I got lucky in that sense because about 5 years ago is when they started making those again. I mean, the world has changed rapidly, but there wasn't really a Netflix making all these things back then, or a Hulu or an Amazon. I was lucky that HBO, which is the best of the best, said yes to this. And I was drawn to it initially by a couple of shocking facts that I didn't know. One of which was that they were running a safety test that night, which I thought was just remarkably ironic. And the other was that the man that was put in charge of putting out the fire and handling the cleanup of Chernobyl killed himself 2 years to the day after the explosion, which seemed incredibly intentional and incredibly purposeful, and showed me a way in that was through a human being. And in the end, I think that's the only way we experience these things is through humans.
I just had a script land on my desk, and it said, the title page said Chernobyl, and my first instinct was obviously, well, this is me, full on, because I'm Swedish originally. I lived in Sweden during the catastrophe, and there's so much in it that just resonates with me. But the thing was that I just had gotten back from a 2-year other mini-series in Eastern Europe, so my instinct was like, oh God, this is gorgeous, but I don't think that's going to be what I want to do now. I want to be in Hawaii or something like that. But then I read the first script, and I called and said, like, to the people responsible, said I need to read more. And then after reading it, it was completely undeniable, 100% undeniable, and that's very, very rare. Or I wouldn't say it's rare, it's impossible. I've never seen anything like it before. You have a script that has everything in it, and I immediately got engaged in so many levels of it. I thought I knew about Chernobyl. I clearly knew nothing. One of the first things I called Craig to ask, like, oh, great script, how much of this is true? And he goes, everything is true. This is true. This is the real thing. So it started there. I was completely taken by the whole thing. I got tremendously curious about it. And then the next thing that happened was that Craig and Jane Featherstone and Carolyn Strauss came to New York, and we met up because, to some extent it's also like, okay, you have a great project here. Let's see who you're going to be with for the next couple of years of your life, because that's going to be pretty detrimental on a lot of levels, because there is 1 million versions of this script that can come out based on what people are looking to do with it and how they want to realize it and all that, and what kind of sort of world there is within the creative space for it, And one afternoon in New York, and the deal was done for me, because I felt that everything was exactly where it should be. We have an amazing script. We have 3 astonishing people who are going to be your sort of partners in this onwards, and that's just how it was.
Look, a lot of what you see in Chernobyl is, certain aspects are the contrast between people who are brave and people who are not. But what sets Chernobyl apart, for me at least, and the reason why I think it's more relevant now than ever, is that Chernobyl at its heart is about what happens when people choose to ignore the truth. Not even just to ignore it, they choose to ignore it, and they choose to celebrate a lie. They come up with a story that serves their purpose, and then they tell that story as if it were fact, as if it were true. And if anybody should dare say, but that's not true, then those people are belittled or diminished or pushed aside. In the West, we used to think of that as a Soviet thing. Well, the Soviets, that's what they do. They lie about stuff, and they did. But I think now we can see that we are not immune from it in any way, shape, or form here in the United States. They are not immune from it in the United Kingdom. There is a kind of global war on the truth that is going on right now. And Chernobyl is the story of what happens when you continue down that path. Sooner or later, the truth gets you. The climate will keep changing. It doesn't really care what articles we write or who we elect. It'll just keep changing. And similarly at Chernobyl, a lot of people told themselves a lot of stories about a nuclear reactor that was inherently dangerous. And for a while, the stories kept everybody comforted. But the reactor will do what the reactor will do.